Hey everyone, it's Carissa at Sprinkled with Glitter. Thanks for joining me today. Today I am taking part in a blog hop that is welcoming the Alexandra Renke line to the Ellen Hutson store. Now this was one of the top picks that we found at Creativation this year when I went with Ellen and her team. And I wanted to give you a peek at some of the products that are available in this line. There are stamp sets and stencils, but I have to tell you what really caught our eye were the beautiful, intricate dies. These die cuts are just, all of them are just so beautiful. I especially love the sentiments, but I'm kind of flipping you through a variety of the different dies that I have. And in this video, I kind of want to give you some tips and tricks for working with intricate dies. Now in this one, I wanted to show you that this cherry blossom branch is shown at 65%, not 100%, but most of these on the packaging are at 100%. So that's the size of the dies. And sometimes the packaging comes with the German language flipped out, but the English version is on the inside. So the first thing I want to go over is cardstock. I actually chose to use the 80-pound Nina today. A lot of times I would use 110-pound, but because these are intricate dies and I want to get a great cut, I'm going to use a lighter weight cardstock. I'm also using the new Essentials by Ellen cardstocks in Slate Gray, Oyster Gray, and Ebony Black. They are a beautiful smooth cardstock and they are 100 pounds. Now, my next tip for using these intricate dies is to put adhesive on the back prior to die cutting. And you can use a Stickit Adhesive, or if you want to, after you die cut, you can use something like a Xyron sticker maker. Just keep in mind that your die cut has to fit within that channel that's available on that particular one. My preferred method is actually to use the Stickit Adhesive, so I'm going to go ahead and apply some Stickit Adhesive to the back of all of these cardstocks. And I think it's a great idea to keep a couple of pieces of pre-adhesived cardstock on hand, and you can hang on to those backer sheets because those are good for other things too. So I'm going to go ahead and apply the Stickit Adhesive to the back side of my white, my black, and my 2 gray cardstocks. And I'm going to keep some of those scraps on hand so that the next time I want to die cut and have the adhesive already on the back, I'm ready to go. Now I have both of my die cut machines here. I get great results using my Gemini Junior. This machine was designed to really work with the Crafter's Companion dies that are very intricate. So they kept that in mind when they were designing the machine. But I know that not all of you have the Gemini Junior, so I'm going to talk you through how to get great cuts on your big shot as well. The next thing you kind of want to do or keep in mind is look at your plates. Make sure they're not too warped. If they're very warped, it's going to affect the amount of pressure that you're going to get as you run through the die cut machine. So if you're not having good luck, maybe it's time to replace your plates. Now, when I die cut with my big shot, I'm going to make sure I use the metal adapter plate. And that actually goes underneath the cutting sandwich. So it goes under the clear plastic cutting pads. And then I'm going to build my sandwich on top of that. And what that's going to do is add some pressure, and that metal shim, because it's metal and not cardstock, it's not going to have any give to it. So I'm going to make sure that I get good, even, consistent pressure as I run this through the die cut machine. So you can see I got really great results. Now for the Gemini Junior, I'm actually going to cut with the die blades into the metal shim. This is a little bit different than the big shot. You're going to actually keep it inside the cutting plate sandwich, and you're going to place the dies where they're facing towards that metal shim, and then you're going to run it through your die cut machine, and that's going to give you kind of that metal on metal effect that you get when you have scissors. And you can see I got really great die cut results with both machines by adding in those shims. Now, when it comes to working with intricate dies, there's a couple of tools that I think are very helpful. The first step is the pokey tool. The Craft Pick by Tim Holtz has become known, I think, as the pokey tool around the crafting world, but it's great for kind of pushing through the ejection holes on the dies and getting those die cuts out of the dies themselves. Next up is the Sizzix Die Brush, and this is great for pushing out all those extra little pieces that remain within the die cut. So you can see I'm just rolling over the die cut here on top of this microfiber cloth, and it pushes all those little extra pieces out, and I don't have to do it one by one. And all of the little pieces remain kind of contained in that microfiber cloth so that I don't have to clean them up one by one. Now, next up, I want to mention, if you're running your die through straight horizontal or straight vertical, and you're still not getting a good die cut after having all those tools or all those tips in place, try running it through at an angle. There is something magical about this that just gives you a great cut every time, even if you're having a hard time with some of those other things. So I just wanted to mention that as well. Now here I have a die cut that I cut from plain cardstock, and I'm just showing that you can add adhesive afterwards. If you don't have the Xyron sticker maker, you may want to try something like a liquid adhesive. A tape runner can often tear these intricate dies. So I've run it through the Xyron machine, and now you can see I'm pressing over that die cut really well. And I'm even going around the edges with a stylus. And that just helps remove any of the extra adhesive that can remain around the die if you don't do that step. Sometimes you get little adhesive boogers around the die cut itself if you're not careful with that Xyron sticker maker. So now that I have a bunch of die cutting done, I'm going to go ahead and get started on my card project. And I'm going to be using this moon stamp die from Alexandra Renke, and I'm using it as a shaker window on this particular card. So what I've done is kind of planned my layout using that die cut that was already there. I positioned my die onto a piece of cardstock that measures 4 by 5 1/4, and I ran that through my die cut machine. Now earlier when I was doing all of my die cutting, I also cut this kind of wonky square frame, and now I'm going to take that plain white die cut and use this gold paint pen to make it gold instead. There's no reason to recut it out of gold cardstock. You can absolutely use a marker or a paint pen or something like that that you have on hand, maybe even an ink pad if you're careful, to add some color to these plain white die cuts. So I flipped this card front over to the back, and I have a piece of clear plastic that I'm going to use for my shaker window. And I'm adding some thin Be Creative tape around the entire inside edge of the back side of that shaker window, and I'm going to place my acetate in place. Now I've die cut this moon stamp die from some oyster gray cardstock from the Essentials by Ellen line, and it has some of that adhesive on the back, so I'm just removing the backer on that adhesive and placing that within the window that I die cut on my card front. And then I'm just taking the backer off of that square frame as well and adhering it around that window. So now I'm going to flip my card front over again, and I'm going to add some foam adhesive to the back of this card front. And around that window area, I'm going to make sure that all of my foam adhesive pieces are touching each other so that the contents of my shaker window are really sealed inside that window area, and we don't have any shaker guts leaking out on the card recipient. I'm going to be using some iridescent stars for this. Now for the back portion of my window, I decided to use this Accentuation Areas stamp set and add a little embossing to this mint colored cardstock. So I've gone ahead and prepped the surface of my cardstock, and I'm stamping my stamp in some Versamark ink onto this kind of minty, pooly green cardstock here, and I'm adding some Brutus Monroe gilded embossing powder, and then I'm going to heat set that. Now I'm taking some little iridescent stars from HAI, and I'm adding those onto that little cardstock piece where I've embossed. And I just kind of peeked through that to make sure I had the right amount of shaker bits inside. And now, once I know that I'm good with that, I can remove the adhesive from around the shaker window and then place this right over the top of that cardstock piece that has my shaker bits kind of in the center of that cardstock piece so that I know that they're going to remain within that shaker window area. So now I'm going to work on kind of a sub-sentiment, and I am using the Bundle of Joy stamp from the Best Wishes stamp set from Alexandra Renke, and I'm going to emboss it onto this oyster gray cardstock from the Essentials by Ellen line. So I'm just following those same steps again, adding my embossing powder and then heat setting it. And then I'm going to die cut it using this little banner die here. I could have die cut it first and then stamped it onto the banner, but let's be honest, I didn't think of that. So I'm kind of positioning my card all together, and I really felt like the top layer of this baby die cut sentiment needed to be this darker gray. So I die cut it from the Essentials by Ellen Slate Gray cardstock, and I'm going to use that on top of this die cut stack. So because these already have the adhesive on the back, I'm just removing the adhesive from the back of each of these die cuts, and I'm stacking them on top of each other to create some dimension, because these are really intricate, and to add some foam adhesive on the back of these would be pretty much impossible. I don't know, maybe you want to try it. I didn't want to try it. But you can see for the first layer, I actually stuck it within the negative portion of that die cut piece so that I could maintain the shape of that die as I was stacking them up on top of each other. So now I have my stack all ready to go. I removed the adhesive backer from the back of that baby die cut and placed it overlapping my shaker window. And now I'm going to take this little sub-sentiment banner and I'm putting foam adhesive on either end, but I'm skipping the middle portion so that I can kind of feed it through the lower portion of the Y. What is that called? Like the hangy down part, the loopy part? Is there a name for that? I don't know. But I thread it through there and then I pressed it down onto my card. And so I have my sentiment completed there. Now, in order to add a little bit of sparkle to this card, I'm taking my Tonic Nouveau Aqua Shimmer Pen and I'm going over the moon and the cloud on that little shaker frame. And I also went over the little baby sentiment there on the front. So now it is time to put this card together. I am removing the adhesive backer from the foam adhesive, adding a little bit of tape runner to the back of my shaker backer, and adding it onto a linen card base. I did want to mention the card front was also made out of the Essentials by Ellen linen cardstock, and that just gives it a little bit of texture. And I'm finishing the card off with some more of those iridescent star sequins there on the front of the card, and I'm adhering those with the multimedia matte adhesive from Ranger that's in a little fine tip glue bottle. So that completes my card for today, a baby card that's perfect. You could change the color of that backer to make it appropriate for any gender, or keep it like a green or a yellow and you could give it to any baby. But if you're watching my Instagram stories, you know a couple weeks ago I was caught without a baby card. So it is my goal in life to have a couple of baby cards on hand for those moments when I need it. As always, I will have links to the featured products in the description at YouTube, but head on over to my blog at sprinkledwithglitter.com. Over there, I'll have more still shots, more information, and a complete list of supplies. Thanks for stopping by today. I hope you enjoyed this project. If you did, be sure to give this video a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe so that you won't miss any of my card making and paper crafting video tutorials. Thanks for stopping by and spending time with me today. I'm so glad you're here. And until next time, I hope you have a fabulous day. If you're still here, I want to thank you for hanging out to the very end. If you want to subscribe to my YouTube channel, go ahead and click that button on the left side of the screen. And here's a couple more video tutorials I thought you might enjoy.